If you've ever searched for a fictional docuseries before, you've probably heard of, or at least seen, an image of a backrooms level. The backrooms are referred to as a separate dimension containing a series of liminal spaces that are all eerily familiar. Although, every time you try to remember where you've seen this place before, your brain just can't seem to pinpoint the memory. Now, with that being said, what exactly is a liminal space? And how does this help us to better understand what we're looking at? Well, liminal space is described as a transitional state or place between what was and what's next. It refers to physical locations such as empty hallways, airports, or stairwells that evoke feelings of being unsettled, eeriness, or anticipation. This definition hits the nail right on the head. As you may come to find, despite the absurd environments that can be found, the backrooms don't feel like a fantasy world. It feels like something real that's been misfiled by your subconscious. It's a place you've seen in passing, but immediately forgot until your brain tries to remember it, but it can't quite seem to find the file. Now, you may be wondering, how did the backrooms come to be such a popular online phenomenon / creepypasta? And the answer isn't exactly clear. Online, you can find lots of people saying that they remember seeing posts and stories about the backrooms as far back as 2007. But from what I could find after digging around for about a week, is that it got popular in early to mid 2018 when this post was made on 4chan. After this image was posted, people started coming up with stories as to why this room is so unsettling but oddly familiar at the same time. Now, while the origins of the backrooms are still up in the air and probably will be for a long time, one thing is for sure. This post created one of the most in-depth creepypastas to ever exist on the internet. And so much so to the point where there are so many different canons that it is basically impossible to cross-reference without one directly contradicting the other. So, due to this fact, I've decided that for this series, I'm going to be treating the Backrooms wiki entries as the reference frame. This doesn't mean that everything on the website is true, but it does give us a consistent baseline that will help us analyze these levels in a more thorough manner. So, ladies and gentlemen, with all that out of the way, we can finally dig into what's in store for us. Tonight, we're kicking it off where most reports begin. Level 0, the Yellow Rooms. The Yellow Rooms is a level that could only be described as a labyrinth of walls and hallways covered top to bottom in this disgustingly yellow wallpaper, with fluorescent ceiling lights above you and an inconsistently dry carpet beneath your feet. It's been reported that every now and then, you'll run into randomly placed items, things that typically end up being lost in day-to-day life, such as trash or shoes. Things that you really don't pay any mind to that have just disappeared. Although you might be confused as to how you even got to this bizarre area in the first place, one thing is unmistakably clear to you. This space does not behave like the one you're used to. The wiki describes level 0 as a non-linear space and an environment resembling the back room of a retail outlet. It states that this environment contains nothing but eerily superficial features that repeat non-stop. Yellowish wallpaper, stained and damp carpet, and fluorescent lighting that buzzes constantly. But the most important detail is noticed when you start paying attention to the layout of the different rooms. Not a single one of them is identical. This level is uniform enough to disorient you, but just different enough to keep you from remembering which direction you came from. The lights flicker inconsistently, they buzz endlessly, and the hum is described as louder and more obtrusive than normal fluorescent lighting. It's almost as if the building is generating that sound on purpose. The only other thing to look at here is the carpet. It's saturated with a liquid that isn't consistently identifiable and not safe to consume. Now, if this were just some real-world location, these would just be annoying details. But in a survival context, they become the factors that dull the mental sharpness and sanity of those lost in the maze. The sound wears you down. The dampness of the carpet makes every step feel slow and heavy. The repetition makes time impossible to track. And the lack of any clear landmarks disintegrates one's confidence in their ability to navigate. You find yourself repeating the phrase, "I've been here before." And if that wasn't enough, the CO2 levels have been observed to rise at a steady rate, with the cause being completely unknown. This level is described to be a place where linear travel doesn't look like a straight line. People can walk straight and return to their starting point. Retracing steps can lead to different rooms than the ones they passed through. Navigating this place is consistently difficult due to the fact that every room looks the same, while the layout refuses to be consistent. Compasses and GPS don't function properly here either. Radio communications are distorted and completely unreliable too. The wiki description goes a little bit further. Level 0 is entirely still and completely devoid of life. Despite the fact that it is the primary entrance to the backrooms, contact with other wanderers within the level has never been reported. Presumably, a great number of people have died before exiting, the most likely causes being dehydration, starvation, and psychological trauma due to sensory deprivation and isolation. However, no corpses have been reported from these hypothetical deaths. Attempting to enter level 0 in a group will result in the separation of the group until the level is exited. Eventually, after enough wandering, it's likely you'll come across one of the first warning signs in your trip to this dimension. Rare rooms with a red wallpaper and dim red lighting may appear. These should never be approached. In level 0, hallucinations are common. The constant hum can spike to a deafening volume and then cut to complete silence. Random doors and stairs appear. Deja vu becomes acute. What can only be described as speech resembling no known language is heard randomly. Random movement has been reported to appear in your peripheral vision, almost like there's insects under the wallpaper, only to disappear when directly observed. If level 0 is a tutorial, then the tutorial is purely psychological, and the only thing it teaches you is that the environment can fabricate stimuli. Level 0 doesn't need entities to be dangerous. The level itself is enough. It's a barren, yellow hellscape that seems to taunt your psychological poise, as if the walls themselves are alive for one reason and one reason only: to break you down from the inside. That's why this series is going to treat the backrooms almost as like a system. The environment isn't just scenery, it's calculated behavior. So you managed to make it out of level 0 alive, and now you find yourself in a seemingly normal looking parking garage, but your assumptions couldn't be further from the truth. The familiarities of this area deceive you into believing you're safe. You're no longer in an area devoid of entities or other wanderers, but in this place, it's hard to determine which is which. This level is much more intuitive than the previously covered one, so in order to organize the information, we'll be dividing this level up into chapters. Let's get started. Level 1 has been sparingly given the name of the habitable zone, despite the fact that it has been reported to be more deadly and even more complex than level 0. This habitable zone is home to a multitude of creatures that are beyond human comprehension, and a phenomenon known as a flickering that allows them to hunt you in total darkness. We'll be covering more on that a little later in the video. While this level contains more deadly creatures, it also contains something new: resources and settlements of other wanderers. How long had it been since I had last seen another person? Weeks? Months? It was certainly before I had fallen into this forsaken world. I couldn't tell. Time didn't really exist here. There was no waxing and waning of the sun, just the artificial wash of overhead lights. What was this place? It seemed man-made, all of it, but it contained an otherworldliness that distinctly wasn't. While I was grateful for the change of scenery, I still felt trapped in this apparently infinite abyss. The halls stretched on for eternity, almost warping ahead of me. They felt off, wrong perhaps. I was probably just exhausted, but it seemed like the halls twisted in improbable ways, far off in the distance. My head ached. Little flickers of disorienting visual anomalies danced in the corners of my vision. This place was probably just getting to me. The puddles around me smelled unclean, the plastic scent of stagnation clinging to the air. I avoided them, but still my thirst drew me closer to them. The air felt stuffy and humid. If only I could crack a window and get any modicum of fresh air. Small piles of debris littered sections of the floor, pieces of wood, packing material, and metal. I glanced through some of it, hoping in vain that any of it contained some manner of sustenance. As I passed one, I saw something odd from the corner of my eye. A crowbar was peeking out from under the crushed wooden planks. I pulled it out, gauging its weight with my hand. It was sturdy, with small flecks of rust patterned on its corrugated gray surface. I did a test swing, satisfaction growing in me as it whisked through the air. This could be a useful tool, I thought to myself. I hung it from my belt and continued on. The halls rolled on and on. My only companions were my footsteps and the intermittent rumbling through the pipes above. I wanted to scream, shout, do whatever it took to find another soul in this endless emptiness, but I was terrified that something else would respond. There had to be other people here. The notes in that room were almost certainly handwritten. I had to keep looking. They were somewhere, and maybe, just maybe, I could find my way home. The wiki page describes level 1's halls as wide, discolored walls stretching for miles, supported by concrete pillars. It gives a phrase that basically writes the visual aspect of this environment for us. an endless chimera between an underground parking lot and an abandoned warehouse. It also goes on to state that even though it's claimed to be habitable, it's even more dangerous than level 0. A warning from the wiki reads like this: keep in mind that not all humans in the backrooms are friendly, so be wary of anything that moves, entity or not. The dangers presented in this level, combined with the infrastructure, is what gives this area its daunting and dreadful atmosphere. It makes you feel as if everything in this place is against you, and that even though you're surrounded by people, you're still completely isolated. Another key trait of level 1 is its different sectors. Those sectors are the following: each sector is slightly different, but also resembles a little bit of similarity between each other. The wiki describes all sectors of level 1 as non-Euclidean. This means that distances that are perceived are entirely false and not to be trusted. Walking briefly might bring you to what you thought was extremely far, and wandering for hours might barely move you at all. Despite this, the level offers you a technique: pick a landmark and walk towards it without looking away. If you do not get any closer to the landmark, it's much further than you initially thought. A good rule of thumb is to treat this space like it is lying to your senses and navigate only by controlled observation. Along with new dangers and a change of scenery, level 1 introduces 2 new phenomena, and understanding them is absolutely crucial to survival. The first of which is the random appearance of crates. These crates have been recorded to be the only way to obtain resources in level 1. The resources that can typically be found within one of these crates are as follows: almond water and cans of food. Almond water has been noted to be the main drink that you will find throughout the backrooms. It helps restore sanity and hydration. You may also run across bandages and antiseptics. It's also been reported that knives and axes have been found within these crates, but it's very rare. You may also find fire-starting supplies. It's also been reported that flashlights are a common finding within them too. These crates are a survivor's lifeline in this level, for obvious reasons. The supplies that are given to you periodically will help you to survive the second type of phenomena that you will encounter here. With that being said, this other event that you will eventually encounter is known as a flickering. At completely random, all the lights within the habitable zone will switch off, fully encompassing the level in darkness. It seems simple enough to deal with, but out of all the backrooms phenomena, it's one of the most deadly. Both the start and duration of a flickering event cannot be predicted, and during a flickering, no hall is safe, no matter what sector you're located in. A flickering allows many creatures that are extremely noise sensitive to hunt for prey that cannot see them. Running is out of the equation, and the wiki states not to use a light source during one of these events, as becoming the only light source in the area will only lead them directly towards you. Meaning that if you're caught in a flickering event, you'll be stuck, wandering in the dark, unable to run without getting the attention of everything around you, hoping that you might get the faintest view of a light source with each step you take. This is classic escalation design. Level 0 isolates you, Level 1 tempts you with supplies and then proceeds to teach you that the supplies helping you cling to life have a schedule, but so does the darkness. Once you begin to accept that levels behave like systems, the entities within them begin to look less like creatures and more like pressure from the ecosystem that you're wandering around. Things that exploit the rules of space. Let's dive deeper into what kinds of entities are found here. Arms. Arms are defined as limbs that protrude through vents and cracks during blackouts. To avoid them, you need to be wary of sounds coming from behind or above you when the lights are out. You can shine a flashlight at it to keep them at bay. Clumps. Clumps are piles of limbs that rush toward their prey at high speeds. To avoid them, you need to be wary of loud footsteps and avoid making any noise. They don't have eyes, so you can hide from them if you're quiet. Crawlers. Crawlers are defined as a pathogenic fungus that takes over your mind shortly after infection. Do not drink or touch unsealed liquids, and do not interact with other infected beings. Dullers. Dullers are humanoid creatures that ambush wanderers through means of no-clipping through walls. To avoid them, you need to stay away from walls if you hear any suspicious noises. Growlers. Growlers are creatures made out of cables that have high strength but low intelligence. If you ever find yourself in a situation where you're face to face with one, throw heavy objects onto their head to disorient them and then run away. If directly attacked, try ripping cables from their head. Hounds. Humanoid dogs with animalistic behavior. If contact is completely unavoidable, intimidate it by visual contact and noise. Skin stealers. White humanoid creatures wearing the skin of their previous victims as a disguise, usually attacking after a long enough interaction with a wanderer. To avoid them, try conversing with them. If you suspect that another wanderer is a skin stealer, try conversing with them. They possess low intelligence. If you can confirm that what you're talking to isn't human, back away calmly. Smilers. Smilers have bright animalistic faces that are attracted by light and noise. To avoid them, stay calm and turn off your light, or throw it as bait. Wranglers. Wranglers are defined as massive snake-like creatures that burrow into walls and hypnotize wanderers with their bodies. If you ever feel the walls, ceiling, or roof vibrating, leave the area calmly and in silence. Wretches. Wretches are aggressive undead humanoids with low intelligence. To avoid them, do not interact with them, even if you can understand their voice. Tonight, we've just barely scratched the surface of the lore behind the Backrooms. From what we covered, it's obvious that, regardless of how nonsensical it may seem at first, these environments have some sort of structure to them. Level 0 is merely just a test, one that pushes your psyche to the absolute breaking point by completely shattering your self-confidence of ever leaving, making it impossible to hold on to hope. But just when you think you may never be able to leave, you manage to make your way into level 1, where you learn that you're not the only one lost in this nightmare, and that survival is possible, but you soon come to realize that it's far from guaranteed. After you regain some amount of your bearing, your mind circles back to how you can get home, but more importantly, what dangers lie on the road ahead. Hey everyone, I just wanted to say if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. I put a ton of time into it, and I will be coming out with more documentary style videos like this in the future. I'm going to try and shift away from gaming content. I really do enjoy doing these documentary style videos, so for the time being, this is what you can expect from me to upload. Anyways, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for next time.